Hello, my name is Natalie Spear with VictorOps, and I'm going to be walking you through a product demonstration of our web UI as well as our mobile phone app, which is what you're seeing on the screen in front of you. The goal of VictorOps is really to provide a single pane of glass to give teams the full situational awareness as to what's happening within their environment and allow those folks to collaborate with their team members in order to achieve resolution faster. So you'll notice that theme of collaboration built in throughout VictorOps in terms of our chat functionality, in terms of the conference call ability, and in the general layout of the platform itself. So walking you through the system today, I will showcase how you can leverage the web UI as well as the mobile phone app. We do have native iOS and Android phone apps, and everything that you can do on this main dashboard that you're seeing in front of you can also be done on the mobile phone app. Again, I am showing an iPhone, so if you have an Android, just know that the same capabilities are available. The UI just may be slightly different. So what you're seeing here, the VictorOps platform is comprised of three main panes. We have our people pane on the left, what we call our timeline here in the middle, and our incident pane on the right-hand side. So your timeline here was really designed to look like a Twitter feed, and that's where it's sending through any alert from any system that you have integrated VictorOps with. So we'll talk about the integrations in more detail a little later on, but those alerts are flowing through the system and gives you that quick view as to how bad things are. So this red color has to do with a critical incident. This yellowy green will be a warning, and yellowy orange, and anything you see in green is an informational message. So what we're seeing right now, a critical incident was fired, and the system is now trying to notify specific users for that alert, and it's telling you which way we're trying to notify that person. So assuming that, let's actually fire off, we're going to use a chat robot Hubot command here to fire off a new incident so that our iPhone user is notified of that particular incident. So that is coming up. It's at the top of our timeline. You see the incident over here on the right-hand side within the incident pane, and that's really where your team is going to start working the incident. So the timeline it came through, that's what you're seeing on the phone also. We'll dive over into the incident pane, and you see that you have the quick option to act or acknowledge the incident, and this is something you can do on the phone as well. If I scroll over to my incident pane on the phone, you'll see I can also filter. You can filter by all incidents, my incidents, or my team's incidents. It generally is beneficial to filter to my incidents on the phone or my team's incidents. And all I'm going to do is click this reddishy color here, and you see you have the same options to acknowledge or to reroute. So I can acknowledge that incident on the phone. You'll see that the rest of my team has now been notified that I have act, and it has canceled paging my team members. The other option you saw is to reroute. And what this is doing is giving you just a one-click option to transfer the responsibility or the ownership of the incident itself to a different team. So if I reroute, I am not accepting ownership, and now you hear my iPhone user was notified of that incident. I've started the escalation policy for the team I rerouted to, which happens to be the team that my iPhone user is associated with. So now you see that showing up at the top of my incident pane. So those are the quick two options when an incident comes through. If you're actually going to be working the incident, and we'll dive in here on the phone as well, you see the full payload of the alert coming through in the details. And what you also see is the individual timeline just as it pertains to this specific incident. So as opposed to our main timeline that has all of the information, this is just information that has to do with this one incident. And the goal is to give the on-call user the information they need as quickly as possible. So your options at this point are to chat a colleague, so we can @mention a user. Did you see this? It sends that person a notification. So my cell phone user just received that notification, and from his phone he can come in, reply, and chat back to Goodman, or the person who sent him that chat in the first place. The other option is to double @mention an entire team. So you're seeing those options pop up on the phone. I can double @mention a team and ask for their eyes on the issue, and that will send that same notification to everyone associated with that team, and again, put more eyes on the problem as quickly as possible. When you're chatting here within the incident pane, it will automatically append that message with the incident ID number. And again, that allows that person to just jump in as quickly as possible. The chat functionality is also available within the center timeline, the @mention or the double @mention. The difference here is that the incident ID number is not tagged onto that chat message. So it is more for generic conversation or not necessarily specific to an individual incident. The other options here, if you weren't going to chat a teammate, you may have noticed when the incident came through, there's a link here for annotations. And I'm going to pull this up on my phone as well. And the annotations is showing here within the timeline as well. So I'll pull it up in all three views so you know what it looks like. What this is a feature we have called the transmogrifier, which is a very powerful feature that allows you to annotate the body of the alert or transform specific fields that come through in the alert. So if I click into this, and let me do it in the timeline here so it's a little bigger, you see that we have appended this alert with a graph. We've also asked the team to create a JIRA ticket and included a link there directly. We've also included a triage note telling the on-call user that the first step is to try to bounce the server, and if that does not resolve, contact a specific user. And then we also have a link to our runbook or our triage documents or knowledge base, the cheat sheet as to how you would resolve that issue. So all of these links, if I'm using this on my phone as well, everything comes in the same way you see it within the web UI. These are hot links, even though they don't necessarily look like them. So I can click on my runbook link, it'll take me right to my GitHub page, right to my triage documents. Let me go back here. And again, this is our goal is to provide information, the right information as quickly as possible to the on-call user so that ultimately they can go back to bed or go back to enjoying their lives without trying to track down the information they need to resolve the incident. So let me click out of my annotations there, and we will talk shortly about how to create those rules, those annotations, or those transformed fields. So that is in short what it looks like when an incident comes through and when a user is working that specific incident. The incident pane has three different sections: your unacknowledged alerts up top, your act alerts in the middle, and then your resolved alerts towards the bottom. So again, you can filter this out to see your view of what your team is working on, what you are tasked with. The timeline itself can also be filtered. So if there's only certain information that each individual wants to see in their timeline, this is where they choose those filters. So if I do not want to see any on-call changes, that's something I can remove from my timeline. And if I want to filter by route keys, that's something I can do as well. So this is if you have multiple teams within the system, you can just filter your timeline to see things that are coming through to just your specific team. So again, just a few filtering options that are available to you as you leverage the timeline or the Twitter feed of information as it pertains to your organization. On the far left-hand side is what we call our people pane. And this gives you that quick view as to who is on call, and that's indicated by this oak leaf icon. So these 4 folks are currently on call. The team names that you see under the individual names are the teams that these people are part of or are associated with as part of those escalation steps. So in this example, Brandon is part of our database team as well as our everyone team, but he's only on call for database, and that's why that name is highlighted as opposed to the everyone name. These translucent circles that you see next to the other names, those tell you if somebody has been within the web UI or within the mobile phone app recently. And that color fades over the course of about 3 hours until it's nearly translucent, as you see here. But the goal there is that if you are looking into an alert after hours or it is the middle of the night, you might have a quick view into who else might be awake, might be aware of the incident, and can be pulled in to help you resolve whatever is happening. If you click into anyone's names, and let me scroll over on my phone here as well, it will tell you again, Brandon here is currently on call for our database team. This is his next on-call rotation, and these are his contact methods. So the people pane is a good single source of record for contact information for everyone associated with your team. And you'll notice here in the mobile app that these are also hot links. So you can send a quick SMS, phone call, or email to that person, same as you can do here within the web UI. You also have the option to private chat. So any chat conversations that happen in the people pane are just between the two of you and will not be captured in the main timeline. The other feature you'll notice is this link to take on call, and that is something that can also be accessed from the mobile phone. This gives you a quick one-click option to really ensure the reliability of your on-call team. So if I know or if Brandon knows he's going to be unavailable for 2 hours, he can send me a private chat, ask me to take on call from him, and it will reroute the escalation steps accordingly. So it will page me for anything that happens during that period of time, and Brandon will not be bothered when will not be reliable anyway. We also have a link here to set up a control call, and this is something that is not available in our trials right now. It's something we're testing in private beta. So to show you what this looks like, and this is our latest feature here, and again, back to what I was saying about the goal of VictorOps, this is a way to get all hands on deck, or at least the right hands on deck, when an incident is triggered. So we can select the users who need to be part of this call. We would name our call so they are aware of exactly why we're trying to get them on a call. And it sends those users a notification, as you see just popped up on my cell phone. And with a swipe into the VictorOps app and a click onto their control call, they have the option to quickly join the call. So you see that link pop up here, and that'll put them right into this conference bridge number. Anyone else who logs into the web UI will see that there's a call in progress. They will see who the owner is, how many participants there are, and also have the option to join now. So the system does provide that dial-in conference bridge access code. The only thing to be aware of here is that if you are using this feature internationally, you will have to manually enter the country code before you dial into the conference bridge. But again, this is a new feature, and we have a good roadmap planned for it, so updates to come. So I'm going to end that call now with just a couple of clicks, and you'll see that the information is also captured here within the timeline. So the rest of the team knows that there was a control call, who it was started by, the timestamp is there for when it ended, and I'll show you why this information comes in handy when we get to the reporting. But in terms of best practices for control calls, we generally recommend that a team assigns an incident commander to take notes during that call as to who is actionable for what, who is being held accountable for doing what, and what was ultimately decided during that call. And again, as we move into reporting now, I'll show you why that is beneficial. One last thing to show you before we do that, however, is on the upper right-hand side, we have what we call maintenance mode. If you are doing any sort of work on your servers and expected to trigger false alarms, you can enter the platform into maintenance mode. You will not lose any of the information that flows through your timeline. However, it will not page anyone during that period of time. So they will not be bothered if it's something that is unactionable. Moving into reports, we're closing the loop on working the incident. So incident is triggered, goes to the on-call user, perfect timing. That user then acts or reroutes within our incident pane here and collaborates with their teammates, as they can see in the people pane. The reports then give you those metrics that you would need to see based on everything that's flowing through that main dashboard. So this is where you can see your incident frequency and make sure your monitoring systems are finely tuned and not pushing any unactionable alerts. You can also see your user metrics to determine how often your users are on call, what their mean time to acknowledge is, their mean time to resolve particular incidents. But the most commonly used report, and the one I'll dive into now, is our post-mortem report. So this gives you the ability to pull information that occurred during a specified period of time. You can export this information to share with external stakeholders, and hopefully your team can learn from what happened during that period of time as well. So you can name your post-mortem report, and then you would select the date range that you're looking to report on. So I'm just going to plug in a generic date range here. You can add your executive summary to the report. So again, anyone who doesn't necessarily want the technical details as to what happened, you can add that summary here. And then the system pulls in all of the information that flowed through your main timeline during the period of time that you specified above. You can exclude any rows that are just not relevant, and then you can add notes to any rows where you want to add additional detail to. So we may keep our on-call change, showing that there was an on-call change shortly before the incident was triggered, and then add our note as to what happened. And again, if you're utilizing the control call functionality, that information will be captured here. We can see that the team got on a call. And if the team is collaborating with one another via chat through VictorOps, you will see those chat conversations coming through as well, so that anyone reviewing the postmortem will see that their team was communicating back and forth in order to resolve the issue. So this report can be saved. As I mentioned, it'll be saved within the VictorOps system, can also be exported and shared with other folks as needed. Jumping over to settings now. We're going to start with the transmogrifier. So these are the alert annotations that we discussed when we were looking at the incident within the main dashboard. So I've pulled that up on my cell phone at this time on the phone app. So these 5 annotations that we saw that give you the graph and the links and the triage notes, this is where you would create those rules. So these are all wildcard matches. You can pull any field from the payload of the alert and determine what pattern that is matching in order to add additional information to that particular alert. So you can see that you annotate the alert with any URL or any note. If this is something that is behind a firewall, then the mobile phone user will have to be VPN'd in to access the link. And you can also transform fields. So a lot of folks are using this to quiet the noise and transform a severity state of critical to informational if it's something that is not actionable. So this transmogrifier area of your settings is really a repository of alerts. Any of the alerts can be disabled or enabled at any time, so you don't have to delete and create one-off. Instead, you can keep these alerts here and utilize them when needed and continue to create them as you see alerts coming through, and especially as you're setting up your VictorOps platform. So jumping over to those integrations, we do have native integrations with many different monitoring solutions, and you can find that information here on our integrations page. If you're not seeing the one you're looking for specifically, we do have an email endpoint as well as a REST endpoint that are utilized heavily by our customers. You can see the API key, and we also provide more details on how to set up those integrations with our knowledge base. Scrolling to the bottom of this page, this is where you'll set up your routing keys. So this is where you can determine which team will be notified based on the information that's coming through the platform. And we refer to that as routing keys, and we're going to move into the team schedules next. But don't forget to add your routing keys here at the bottom of our integrations page. So once you have your integration set up and the information flowing through VictorOps platform, each individual user determines their what we call personal paging policy. So clicking into this individual user, we can see that Daniel has added 2 different phone numbers, a cell phone and a home phone number, as well as an email address. And he can decide how he wants to be notified when he is on call. The options are always a push notification, an email, an SMS, or a phone call. And there is an unlimited number of steps available for each time-based step. So in this example, he's receiving an email as well as a push notification. And after 5 minutes, if we haven't reached him, he will receive another email. But again, each individual user customizes what this paging policy looks like and can incorporate any number of contact methods that they need to be reached. These paging policies are then incorporated into the team schedule. So in our schedules here within the settings, you can set up a 24/7 rotation, a follow the sun rotation, or what we call a custom rotation. And custom essentially accomplishes anything else that the other 2 do not do. So once you determine your on-call rotation and what that time frame looks like, you set up your team escalation steps, your team escalation policy. So we, in this example, are notifying the on-duty user in this rotation, and the system will then use that individual's paging policy in determining how to notify that person. We can then create additional steps, and again, there are unlimited number of steps to each time-based step, and so you determine if it's unact after a certain period of time, who are we going to notify next? And this is pretty customizable. You have the option to notify specific users, a group email, execute a webhook, etc. You can also notify multiple people, again, multiple steps within the time-based steps. The key to remember here is that the original on-duty user or the original person in the escalation policy will continue to be paged until somebody acts the incident. So if we're up to step 4, there's 3 other people being paged at the same time we are notifying this individual user. So it doesn't allow anyone to buck their responsibility or to get out of actually acknowledging and working on the incident specifically. The team schedules here, as well as the individual schedules, can also be exported and shared on Google Calendars or any sort of team calendar that your team is utilizing. But one other thing I want to show you within the schedules here, once you get your team schedule set up, once you have your personal paging policies accurate, let me scroll to the bottom here, and I showed you on, I'm going to pull it up on the mobile phone here, you have the option to take on call, this link for the one-click quick handoff, but you also have the option to schedule an override. So this is where if somebody knows they're going to be unavailable or going on vacation, they can set those dates ahead of time and ask somebody to override them for whatever teams they're associated with. So this is where you would schedule those in advance. So that is the quick overview of the VictorOps platform. I hope that this time was beneficial, and please join us, start a trial. We offer 2-week trials, and we will work with you during that period of time to ensure that integrations are running correctly, on-call rotations and schedules are the way you need it to be, and that your team will ultimately benefit from increased visibility and collaboration as you resolve incidents. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand by.